Good morning, my dear student. So this is the third year plant protection course. In this course, we have started to study many pests and diseases that are causing severe damages or economic damages on crop. So in this series of pest and disease study, today's class we are going to detail study about the rice diseases and its management. So you all know the rice is a stable food for more than half of the world population. But the 90% of the rice production is coming from the continent Asia. So in the Asian countries like China, India, the Bangladesh, and Philippines and Sri Lanka, they're producing the rice for more than 90% of their nationals, as well as they are exporting this rice to the other countries. In Sri Lanka, the paddy is cultivated as wetland crop in all over the districts. According to the 2019 estimates, says 788,000 hectares is under the rice cultivation in 2019 and 2020, mainly in Maha and Jala seasons. The biotic and abiotic stresses are the major hurdles to the rice cultivation. This rice cultivation interfered by these pest and diseases leads to 37% of the yield losses. So if we are taking the rice diseases, so mainly the fungi, the bacteria and viruses are causing the diseases and posing constant threat to the rice production. As like the rice insect pest we were studying in the couple of months ago, there are three categories of insect pests that are damaging the rice. So stem borers, leaf feeders, and the sap feeders. So as like that, the rice diseases also caused by the fungi, bacteria, and viruses. There are more than 16 diseases that has been reported among them. So whatever the diseases have highlighted by this, putting an asterisk mark, are economically important that are causing the severe economic damages or crop rice loss in all stages of the rice cultivation. For example, if you are taking the rice blast, it's a fungal disease, is all around the world. This is an economically important disease and devastating the rice cultivation. The second one is a brown spot. It's caused by Cochiliobolus myabinus, and it is anomalous stage is we call it as a Helminthosporium or rice. Earlier, the rice blast is also called as Pyricularia or rice. Now it is called it as a Magnopothoc rice. And the brown spot, Cochiliobolus myabinus or Helminthosporium or rice. So these two fungal diseases are, so even in Sri Lanka also they are causing the tremendous yield losses, especially in the Maha season, not in the Yala season. So because of the conducive climate. Other than that, the sheath blight is caused by the Rhizoctonia. This is a foliphagous fungi. It can attack anywhere, any crops, but the sheath blight in rice also is a very economically important disease. And the bacterial blight, other than these fungal, bacterial blight and bacterial leaf streak is caused by the Xanthomonas campestris padova or rice and Xanthomonas campestris padova or ricicola. These two bacterial diseases are also economically important. So if you are taking the virus diseases, so Tungro disease, grassy stun disease, and yellow dwarf disease, these three viral diseases, especially the transmitted by the, you all know, the leaf hoppers, green leaf hoppers, yellow leaf hoppers, white zigzag hoppers, they are transmitting. They are playing major role to transmitting, and brown plant hopper too. They play a major role to transmitting these viral diseases. So therefore, these viral diseases you can expect even in the Maha season highly, because of these hoppers are highly, the environment is favorable for the hoppers in Yala season because of this temperature and the mild RH conditions. So therefore, these strict noted fungal diseases and these two bacteria, ninth and 10th bacterial diseases and viral diseases are important. So to the even Sri Lankan rice cultivation as an the plant protection is, you should able to identify the symptom of these diseases and able to manage the diseases. So we will see one by one the rice blast. This is one of the most important diseases of the rice globally. This is caused by the fungus called Magnopotho oryzae. Sometimes earlier it named as an Pyricularia oryzae. So Pyricularia oryzae. Why we call it as a blast? So this is because of the paddy field. If you are going there in the, if the blast disease attacked paddy field, which look like the burned appearance. That's what we call it as a blast, bomb blast, right? Like that's burn symptoms you can expect if the field is severely infected with this rice blast fungi. This rice blast fungi can attack any stages of the rice cultivation from the seedling until maturity. So this, where these symptoms appear, so we can classify this rice blast disease also into leaf blast, collar blast or knot blast, neck blast and panicle blast. So mainly the three category of blasts are very important. One is the leaf blast, other one is the neck blast, another one is the panicle blast. So if the neck, panicle and leaf blast appeared or these fungus attacked on those regions, so we can expect or predict severe yield losses if not managed. Right? So therefore, the rice cultivation farmers, the farmers who are cultivating the rice, they have to be very careful. They have to monitor regularly whether the symptoms appear, or before the symptoms appear they have to take initiation, because this is a the seed borne diseases. So they have to be very careful on the from the selection of the seeds until the sanitation practices until the harvesting. Otherwise they cannot omit yield losses. So for the history, if you are taking the rice blast evolution, so in the economical importance diseases, so it expected yield losses in 50% if not properly managed. So in those, the past decade, you can find it. So how these diseases cause yield losses in this country. These diseases we also call it as one of the Bengal famine, right? The Helminthosporium and the rice blast. Rice blast role is less, but the Helminthosporium less involvement was high in Bangladesh. That caused, we call it as a Bengal famine. So many millions of people died because of the starvation of this rice plant attacked by Helminthosporium, and heavy yield losses and those years, and people died because of the food shortage. So the rice blast. So I told you there are three categories. A very important one is a foliar blast, and neck blast, sometimes neck with the panicle blast, and the sheath blast. Right. So these three, if these three regions is infected with this fungi, if you are not observing the symptoms from the initial point, definitely you will get 50% or more than 50% of the yield losses. So because if it is attacked in the leaves, so they are producing toxins. These toxins can kill these leaves finally the yield will, the plant will die. The sheath blast is happened, so translocation process with interfered, then the rice plant will die. And neck blast mean, for if it is necked it infected, so from this region thereafter there is no any transmission of water and nutrition to the panicle, so or the photosynthetic product, so the entire panicle will become a white head, look like those yellow stem borer attacked plant, right? Yellow stem borer attacked plant. So from we will discuss the symptoms. So rice blast symptoms are specific. So spindle shape, we call it as a spindle shape specific symptom. So because it appear on the leaf as an brownish color spot earlier, right? Brownish color spot earlier, and ash centered, right? In the center portion you can find it's an ash, and terminal portion is narrowed down and look like a spindle shape. This is a characteristic specific symptom of the blast disease, right? Spindle shape. So according to the virulence of the pathogen and the status of the symptom, from the initial symptom to advanced symptom, so we can also classify this one into three different categories. All right. So first symptom, right? First symptom you can find it. This is a white point type. The white point type, why we call it as a, because the symptom is a whitish color. It's a mostly round. You cannot expect like a spindle shape. So especially the young leaves are susceptible to this early symptoms. That's what we call it as a white point type. Second category is there. We call it as an acute type. This acute type is a dark green spots. You see, dark green spot. So the dark green will become an ash color. So because of this mycelial growth, so nearly circular, and earlier you can find this size is look like a mung bean size, right? Mung bean is means of like gram or green gram sizes, right? The gradually developed into spindle shape. I gradually, so initial, after that certain stage. The third category we call it as an acute type. So sorry, chronic type. The chronic type is a typical spindle shape, right? Typical spindle shape, and outermost layer is yellowish brown color. This is yellowish brown color because of these plant defense reactions, right? To isolate the pathogen from the plant part, so plant producing some, I think you would have studied this one in plant pathology, how the plant defend themselves against these microorganisms, right? This is a one category. This fungal, if the fungal is advancing, to restrict the advancing pathogen and further invasion, the plant will produce a defense material. These defense materials order cells will order the plant around the symptoms to die. If it is died, that pathogen will not move because there is no any food for the pathogen. So spot at both ends expanding down outwardly, brown and necrotic coat. You see that how it is narrow, 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 narrow. Then again, this advancing pathogen will increase the size of the symptom. Symptom will size will increase. This is a typical symptom. So you can find it earlier is a blackish one. Later at a certain stage, second stage you can acute, right? It's a white point. It's an acute. In the acute find you can find the mung bean size, and also you can find them greenish shape, right? Then third is, and we call it as a chronic type. The chronic in further advanced, or this is a typical spindle shape symptoms surrounded encompassed by the yellowish brown outer layer, right? Outer layer, and middle portion you can find is an ashy color, right? Ashy color. And later stage we call it as a brown point type. This is a brown point type mean, So like an earlier symptom of young leaves, you can find it. This is in between the leaf veins, like in between the leaf veins, restricted. This is because of the varietal or the crop resistant variation. You can find various symptoms, but the same pathogen, according to that, you can differentiate the pathogen into different strains because of the virulency. So if this less virulence means some pathogen, some strain or some isolate of the blast pathogen, attack is restricted in between the veins. Therefore, the symptoms you can observe in the vein, in between the vein, right? The brown necrotic central portion and peripheral portion of the yellowish lesion, no spores. Here no spores, here no spores. First and last, you cannot expect the spores. Only second and third, you can expect the spore formation, right? Spore formation. So this is the in the under conducive conditions, right? If the conducive conditions, the susceptible line, so mean susceptible cultivars. If the resistant cultivars mean is symptoms will be restricted, right? Under susceptible plants, so continuously expanding symptoms, so the plant will dry off. If the plant is drying off, that's what you can like, observe the field as a blast, right? Dried. It's a complete dried, right? So that's what the resistant plant. So symptoms will be restricted. Symptoms will be restricted up to brownish color. This is a resistant one, right? Otherwise, the plant, complete plants, leaves will dry off, and panicle, if it is appeared in the panicle, panicle will dry off. This is a panicle blast. Here, you see that one how this portion is get infected. Thereafter, there is no transmission of the food above region. So to the panicle, then the grain, so the head or panicle will become an unfilled as a chaff, white chaff, right? White. This is the color, how it is panicle, individual, right? Individual grain, how it is changing. The gloam color is changing. So because of this pathogen attack, right? So this is a grain blast. So the neck blast, right? That's what I told you in the earlier neck blast. If it is neck blast appeared, you may the farmers may confuse with yellow stem borer attack. If the farmer confused, oh, this is an attack by the yellow stem borer because the panicle, right, is look like an white head. The white head, if you are looking at from the distance, so this white head typically similar to the yellow stem borer attack. If you are going closer and examine the plant, so nodal region or the neck region, you can find that if their symptoms is look like it's a blackish color or breakages of this neck region, this is because of this neck blast, right? This is because of the neck blast. That's what careful examination is important before go for a measure. If you are thinking that this is yellow stem borer attack and if you are applying insecticide, it will not work. The whole rice field will out, right? So that will be very careful. So the when the node is infected, all part of the node may be die. That's what your plant will break at the panicle region, right? From the nodal region, above the nodal region, plant will break. So losses will be high. If you are taking the consideration of the causal organism, you all know this is Magnopothograceae. So Amorphosis call it as a pyricularia or rice, right? Sexual. This is belongs to Ascomycota, right? This belongs to Ascomycota fungus. This fungus will not produce any sexual spores. There is no any sexual spores. And also they are producing asexual spores. We call it as a conidia. This conidia, there are two categories of conidia this fungal will produce. One is the microconidia. Other one is a macroconidia. Normally you can find microconidia produced by these fungi. This fungi producing microconidia is like also the spindle shape. You see, this is also a spindle shape. So conidia color is a pear color, a pear shape. If you are putting under the microscope, we are observing the symptoms under the microscope, you can find the conidia is a pear color, right? Earlier, you cannot, if it's an early conidia, you cannot find the septums, differentiation in the conidia. But if in the mature spores, you can find there are two mature septa, right? Septa mean division. Two mature septa, therefore you can find the three division in the spores, right? Spores. So basal cell we call it as an obtuse, right? With hilum. Through this hilum, germ tube will come out, right? Germ tube will come out. So the seed, if the spore is there, then you can go to the plant pathology, how it is developing, right? How it is developing. So this, other than this rice plant is a major host, some of the crops belongs to the Poaceae, mean grasses and sedges, also targeted by this blast fungi. That means that you can predict that, oh, if these grasses are present in this paddy field, we have to be very careful. If the rice plant is not there, these grasses act as an alternate host for this fungi. Therefore, the weed control is very, very important before starting the cultivation of the rice. If you are suspecting that blast disease can occur in that field, you have to be very careful, because these alternate hosts act as a harbor for this pathogen in the off seasons. Therefore, you have to be very careful. So before starting the cultivation, or at the time of cultivation also, you have to be very careful. You have to remove all these weeds. What are the conditions favorable for this disease? If you are thinking that the normally the fungal disease can appear in the atmospheric RH is very high, more than 80%, or if some drizzling, right, dew is there, definitely you can expect fungal diseases. So as like this, these conditions, relative humidity of more than 93, so mean 90%, and daytime high temperature 26 to 28 degrees Celsius, right? Low night temperature 15 to 20 degrees Celsius is favor the growth and development of this blast pathogens, because blast pathogen cultivation of the culturing of the blast pathogen is very difficult in the laboratories, because we have to give these incubation temperatures. That's how this disease is very high in the Maha season. The Maha season, so rainy season. So therefore, the marriage will be very high, and also night temperature will be less. This means decline. The day temperature sometimes you can expect more, because these adverse climatic changes, right? Climatic changes is bringing daytime high temperature, nighttime cool temperature. Then there are chances for more disease attack, right? More disease attacks. So these are the temperature ranges for mycelium. Normally, you can expect from the 24 to 28 degrees Celsius in the daytime, and 15 to 20 degree in the night time. The 90 percentage of RH with the dew is highly favorable for the disease. This is the environmental condition, abiotic condition favorable for the disease. Other than that, the favorable condition also given by the human being. We will discuss later, right? We will discuss the later. So mean uh, this favorable condition other than environmental conditions are dense planting, high nitrogen application, alternate host, and improper proper treated seed is planted. So those are the things. So the other conditions favorable for the disease. So despite apparently the broad host, it's a particular strain, right? Pyricularia also you can find it. There are a lot of strain. Or Macnapotho oryzae you can find it strain. The strain mean, according to the, you would have studied this in the plant pathology, strain means is something different. For example, if you are taking the rice plant, so you may cultivate in Mottakarupan, Pechaperumal, Hirichamba, this Ratuhinati, Sutuhinati, different type of rice cultivars. So these cultivars, rice cultivars, they have the different characters, right? So different characters mean some, if you are taking the Pachaperumal and the Atakari or Ratihinati. Sometimes so Pachaperumal may be resistant to blast diseases. Atakari may be susceptible. Atakari is normally is very susceptible to these blast diseases. Right? So according to that also we can differentiate this one as a strain 2. So we have to identify proper strain, which strain is present in this cultivating area. According to that, you can select the rice. For example, if the strain B is there, I am taking an example A, B, C, D, right? If the A is there, very virulent on Pachapirama. If you are taking strain B, it's very virulent in Atakari. If you are taking virulent C, it's very virulent to Ratahinati, Atakari, Pachapirama, not in 8400 or something. So, I mean, you have to decide it which is before the cultivation. You should take in samples. You should test in these areas which strain is there. If it is A is there, then you should not go for a Motakarpan. You can go for the varieties. The B is there, you should not go for an Atakar. You can go for the varieties, right? So you have to be very according to the strain. Also, the severity will be vary. So that's the thing. So most strain isolated from the rice can be infected intermediate number of cultivars. The strain in other cultivars also survival also vary. That is we call it as a strain. Proper identification of strain is also important for this management. So because other than this rice, those are the cultivar, those are the other crops belongs to the same family. So these Magnopothoaggressive blast fungi can act as a alternate host. This alternate host for these rice plant and the rice blast pathogen. So if you are taking an epidemiology disease, you would have studied in the plant pathology. Again, I am going back, right? So normally infestation is a disease site. Infestation start with an conidia, right? Spindle-shaped conidia. Sometimes these conidia may be present in the seed. That's what we call it. This pathogen as a seed-borne pathogen, right? If it is adhered with the seed or maybe adhered with the straw, previously cultivated straw, right? Sometimes it can come with an airborne conidia, right? Airborne conidia, nearby field is there having the blast diseases. So conidia is starting point. The conidia, it is attached with the seed or coming into contact with the seed. So it produces germ tubes. You all know about that one. This host pathogen interaction and disease development, right? So attack conidia. So it produces germ tubes. So the germ tube is a dome shape. Here the dome shape germ tubes. From the germ tube, it will produce some aprosorium, some attaching the seed. Through that, it will produce penetration peck. So with that producing some enzymes and penetration peck, aprosorium will produce so much of enzymes. So this is region will be so maybe softy because of these toxic enzymes. Or so then the penetration peck will pierce that seed coat and go in that, right? This is we call it as a disease development. Then it go for an invasion. This is you would have studied in the plant pathology, right? Phytopathology, because the plant protection. So you have to if you are studying the plant protection, you should remember from the entomology, microbiology, and phytopathology, and plant protection. All these chapters, if you are clear, then you can study very nicely, right? Very nicely. So especially the people who are planning to come for an agriculture biology special, you have to be very careful. So you can easily remember by continuously remembering those three subjects: entomology, microbiology and microbiology and phytopathology and plant protections. If you are studying the plant protection, you if you are thoroughly studying that plant protection, you will be the master on this plant pathology, right? You may be the plant pathologist. So this is the actually the how it is happening and what time it will happening. So no invading hypha. So once it's penetrated, that invading hypha penetrating into the cells, right? You see invading hypha penetrating into the cell. One is penetrated into the cells in 48 hours. Right? Within the 48 hours, they can fully establish in the host. Right? In 48 hours, you see, you can imagine that how short is. In 48 hours, it will fully colonize inside the host and able to start reproduction. And able to start reproduction. So advancing pathogen will produce conidia. These conidia can disperse in night time and early morning, because night time and early morning, why this is a strategy. So if it is an early morning and night, means that dew will be very high, low temperature. So that is the tactics of the pathogen, so they can easily spread that conidia, right? It's a dispersal strategy of the pathogen. In the 20 days, from the infection to 20 days, you can expect the primary inoculum dispersed. We take 20 days to complete the life cycle. So if you are going to manage that blast diseases, you have to be very careful. So you should think about, before management, you should think about and you should ask the questions. How the field water was managed, right? How the field was too wet or dry, right? First observation of the symptoms, right? Seed bed, how the seed bed prepared, where the seed paddy was took. All these questions you are asking, then easily you can manage these diseases, right? So how you are going to manage these blast diseases? So use of resistant cultivars. So because nowadays a very big problem using of fungicides, right? These fungus are highly virulent, and conditions favorable for the growth of the pathogen is not may not suitable for the working of fungicides, because this pathogen attack will be high in the rainy season. So the fungicides sometimes or may not work, but many fungicides are there. And also the fungicides are toxic. They are causing the health hazardous issues. Therefore, now the trend is to isolate the cultivars that are showing the resistance, mean identifying the resistant genes and inserting the resistant gene into the susceptible cultivars, right? That is a technique. Therefore, through these techniques, so these resistant cultivars have been identified. For example, if you are taking BG359, BG304, IR. So IR mean iri variety. IR 64, Batulagoda 352, Batulagoda 357 are highly resistant to blast. Therefore, so the gene present in these cultivars, so we can identify the genes and we can transfer the gene to susceptible cultivars, mean Motakarapeno, Atakario, those varieties we can transfer through the molecular technology. But these varieties, Labduva varieties, and even BG varieties, some BG and Bombola varieties, they are also very susceptible. So you have to be very careful if you are cultivating these varieties. These varieties may give a high yield, but are highly prone to disease attack. So they have to be very careful for select. But if you want to cultivate these varieties, then you can transfer the gene from these varieties to these varieties, right? So then you can easily develop the resistant cultivars, then you can cultivate. And early showing, if you are suspecting that this disease will, this means disease prediction. So if the environmental condition is going to worse, if you are predicting advance in a 1 month ahead, then you can go for an early sowing. So nowadays, so unpredicted weather changes. Through the climatic data, you can even develop the prediction model, right? The developed countries, they are using the prediction model for the disease forecasting. So, okay, this environmental condition will be this. So therefore, these diseases can appear in these seasons. If you are informing the farmers 1 to 2 months ahead, then farmers can adjust the cropping calendar, right? Adjust the cropping calendar mean, so they can go for early sowing. So if this seedling is disease free, then you can transfer the seedling, and you can even manage the other method, right? Other method to get rid of this from this disease. And efficient usage of nitrogen. The modern cultivars need nitrogen, but the problem is our farmers are highly using the nitrogen fertilizers because subsidies, government is giving subsidy, so therefore tremendous amount of fertilizers are available. They are using without measuring whether crop is needed or not, right? By using the leaf color chart, they can decide whether the nitrogen is needed for the crop or not needed. Then you can apply if needed. The farmers, if they are using heavy nitrogen doses, these doses will help to develop this blast disease, right? Higher, since plant will become a succulent, then prone to more disease attack. And soil amended with silica. So if the cultivars with silica, you are giving the silica, definitely you can easily manage the many pests. I already explained that one. So yellow stem borer also, if you are applying silica, the straw will become a siliconized, then the yellow stem borer will not attack, or many caterpillars will not attack. Like that, if you are giving the silica subsidy, right? If you are giving the silica substitute, then the blast disease will become less, because your variety will develop the resistance. Therefore, nowadays they are identifying the gene that are absorbing more silica and transmitting that into the rice cultivars. So other than this supplement, external supplement, so if you are modifying the gene that is absorbing more silica, then you need not to apply for a silica. So the soil amendment with silica is also helpful to minimize this disease, because an alternate in the indirectly they are boosting the resistance. So the resistant variety also you can use, and also water management. So if the disease symptoms appear, then you have to go for a dry. So you have to remove all the flood water and go for a dry, and alternative wetting and drying, it will help to minimize the disease. And another condition is a sanitation. Selection of the seed materials. Normally I told you, previously cultivated, you are getting the seed from the previously cultivated crops. You have to be very careful. This your seed paddy is free from the blast diseases. So earlier, if your the field is suspected with blast disease or attacked with the blast disease, you have to go for a proper sanitation. You have to burn all these field, rice stubbles and mulches. You have to burn and go for a solarization, and you can go for a seed treatment for Captain and Thrian, or you can use for the trichoderma. Biological control agent trichoderma, by dipping and sowing or transplanting, then it can protect from these blasts. Not only blasts, many other soil-borne pathogens also it can be protected by the trichoderma. So these are the control measures you can take. So certification, seed certification, and monitoring and sanitation, environmental changes, resistant cultivars, all these tactics, if you are encompassing, that's what I told you, this is an integrated disease management, IDM. We will discuss in the later. We call it IDM, integrated disease management. We have studied in the plant pathology course also. Integrated disease management will helpful to manage this disease successfully, right? So this is the blast disease. Second one is brown disease, brown spot. So do you want to ask any question here? Anybody want to ask any questions? Representative is here, or Jeffrey is here or not? Other representative is here or not? Lady representative. 044. Zero 44. Registration number 044. Want to ask any question? Zero zero three.
No, sir.
So 067. Zero 067. Want to ask any question? So I hope that we have studied the rice pest right
No,
completely.
sir.
Okay. So we have studied the rice pest completely, and I am taking the rice diseases. So Mr. Trichilvan took some of the pests, right? So do you want to repeat that one, or you understood that pest, or do you want any video lectures for that one? If anybody want that. So for this lecture, do you want to ask any which section I want to repeat it, or I want to you are expecting that more explanation from any pest? Please feel free to ask. I hope that he did not give the video lectures, isn't it? Did he give the notes? Representative, he give the notes?
No, sir.
Mhm. Did you recorded that lectures?
No, sir.
Do you want recorded notes, or do you want LMS notes for that?
Record notes is good.
Record note is good. Then again, I have to record it now. He did not record. He told that. I will try my best, right? Okay. So, no, is there any more questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Shall I close it?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. Then okay, fine. No question, no? Again, we will take lecture 6:30 on Friday, right? If the condition is normal, then okay, no problem. If that Zoom lectures continues, and I will take another lectures on Friday. Okay, 6:30, same time. Thank you. Thank you very much.